I can fix this myself, the greasy, dirty boy declared, standing before the Rolls-Royce. Millionaire Chief Adebayo Alabi scoffed in his face, joined by his friends. They didn't know this boy held a secret that would change everything. The black Rolls-Royce Phantom sputtered to a halt in the middle of a bustling street in Victoria Island, Lagos, with a horrible metallic screech that made every pedestrian turn to stare. White smoke billowed from the luxury car's bonnet, and the visibly nervous driver tried to start it again and again, without success. Behind the stranded vehicle, an endless line of cars began to form, horns blaring mercilessly. Chief Adebayo Alabi stepped out of the back seat, his fury evident in every movement. He was a 8-year-old man, with hair perfectly combed back, an Italian suit worth more than an average car, and that air of superiority only possessed by those who have never known the word no. His 3 business partners, Tunde, Emeka, and another, got out with him, all equally elegant, all equally annoyed. "This is unacceptable," Chief Alabi roared, pounding the car's roof with his hand. "I paid a fortune for this rubbish, and it breaks down in the middle of the city." His chauffeur, an older man named Segun, desperately tried to explain. "Chief Alabi, I think it's the cooling system, but we need a specialist mechanic for." "I'm not interested in your opinion." Chief Alabi interrupted him with contempt. "Call the dealership now and tell them I'm suing." The scene was attracting more and more onlookers. Office workers leaving their jobs, street vendors, students, everyone stopped to watch the spectacle of the furious millionaire next to his broken-down luxury car. Some brought out their phones to record. "Chief, calm down," Tunde, one of his partners, said. "Let's call a tow truck, and we can take a taxi. We have that important meeting in an hour." "A taxi?" "Me, Chief Adebayo Alabi, in a taxi?" He responded with indignation. "I'd rather walk barefoot over broken glass." It was at that moment, a small but clear voice broke the circle of tension. "I can help you, sir." Everyone turned towards the voice. It was a boy of about 12, thin, with messy black hair and a face stained with grease. He wore worn denim trousers, a t-shirt that had once been white but was now covered in oil stains, and torn sneakers that seemed to have more holes than fabric. In his hands, he carried a rusty toolbox that looked almost as old as he was. "Excuse me?" Chief Alabi looked at him as if he had just seen something impossible. "What did you say?" "I can help you with your car, sir," the boy repeated, moving a little closer. "I know what's wrong with it. I can fix it." The laughter that erupted was deafening. Chief Alabi and his 3 partners doubled over with laughter, pointing at the boy as if he were the best joke they had heard in years. The curious onlookers also began to laugh, infected by the absurd situation. "Did you hear that?" Chief Alabi yelled between bursts of laughter. "The raggedy boy says he can fix my Rolls-Royce, a car that not even the dealership mechanics fully understand. Maybe he thinks it's like fixing a bicycle, Emeka," another partner added, provoking more laughter. The boy did not flinch. He kept his gaze fixed on Chief Alabi, with a determination that did not match his age or appearance. "I know what I'm doing, sir. My father taught me." "Your father?" Chief Alabi approached the boy with a mocking smile. "And who is your father? The best mechanic from the dump site?" More laughter. The circle of onlookers had grown, and everyone seemed to be enjoying the show. Some recorded with their phones, murmuring comments about the poor boy and the arrogant man. "My father was the best mechanic in the city," the boy replied, and for the first time, his voice trembled slightly. He was. Chief Alabi caught the past tense with an even crueler smile. "He was? He's not anymore then. He got tired of fixing old cars?" The boy pressed his lips together, and anyone paying attention could see the tears beginning to form in his eyes. "My father died 3 months ago. He had an accident at the workshop." The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Some of the onlookers stopped laughing, exchanging embarrassed glances, but Chief Alabi didn't seem affected in the slightest. "What a pity," he said, without a shred of genuine empathy. "But that doesn't make you a mechanic, boy. Now, leave before I call the police for harassment." "Please, sir," the boy insisted, stepping forward. "Just let me see the engine. If I can't fix it, I'll leave. But if I can, you'll be able to make your meeting." "You heard Chief Alabi, boy." Segun, the chauffeur, intervened with a kinder tone. "It's better you leave, lad." But something in the boy's gaze stopped Chief Alabi. Perhaps it was the absolute determination, or perhaps it was that deep down he enjoyed prolonging the public humiliation. He crossed his arms and smiled. "You know what? I'll give you a chance," he said with a tone that clearly indicated this was pure entertainment for him. "If you can fix my car, I'll give you 50,000 naira. The boy seemed to light up for a second, but Chief Alabi wasn't finished. "But," he continued, raising his voice so everyone could hear, "when you can't fix it because obviously, you won't be able to, you'll crawl out of here like the insect you are. Deal?" "Chief, that's too much." Ngozi, his secretary, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. She was a 30-year-old woman, always professional, but even she looked uncomfortable with her boss's cruelty. "Shut up, Ngozi. Nobody asked for your opinion." Chief Alabi silenced her with a wave of his hand, then looked at the boy. "So, do you accept or not?" The boy swallowed, looked at his toolbox, then the car, and finally back at Chief Alabi. "I accept." "Perfect." Chief Alabi clapped his hands with sarcasm. "Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to witness the most pathetic spectacle of the day. The raggedy boy is going to try to fix a Rolls-Royce." The boy approached the car and asked permission, with a gesture to open the bonnet. Segun looked at Chief Alabi, who nodded with amusement. When the bonnet was lifted, a cloud of steam escaped, making the boy step back. "Giving up already?" Chief Alabi asked, chuckling. "I don't blame you. This is a job for professionals, not for children playing with wrenches." But the boy didn't respond. He approached the engine, ignoring the heat emanating from it, and began to examine each component with absolute concentration. His eyes moved rapidly, following lines of cables, checking hoses, observing connections. He took a small flashlight from his toolbox and used it to illuminate the deeper parts of the engine. "This is going to take all day," Tunde commented, checking his watch. "We've already wasted too much time with this circus." "Patience," Chief Alabi replied, clearly enjoying himself. "I want to see exactly how long it takes for him to admit he can't." The boy worked in silence, oblivious to the comments and laughter. He checked the cooling system, the electrical connections, the car's computer. His hands, though small and dirty, moved with surprising precision. After 5 minutes of inspection, he stopped. "The problem," he said with a clear voice. "Ah, yes," Chief Alabi approached, with his arms crossed. "Enlighten us with your infinite wisdom, little genius." "The coolant temperature sensor is faulty," the boy explained, pointing to a specific part. "It's sending incorrect readings to the computer, causing the engine to overheat. Also, there's a small leak in the upper radiator hose that's causing pressure loss." The silence that followed was different from the previous one. It was no longer uncomfortable, but surprised. Even Chief Alabi seemed to lose his smile for a second. "Anyone can invent technical diagnoses," he quickly recovered, "but fixing it is another thing." "I can fix it," the boy insisted. "I need 20 minutes. "I'll give you 10, Chief Alabi replied cruelly. "And the clock starts now." The boy didn't waste time arguing. He opened his toolbox and took out pliers, screwdrivers, electrical tape, and other tools that seemed to have seen better days. He set to work with a speed and efficiency that left more than one person open-mouthed. First, he disconnected the faulty sensor with precise movements. Then took a spare from his box, one he had clearly kept from a previous job. He installed it carefully, making sure every connection was perfect. Then he moved to the hose with the leak, cut the damaged section with a small knife, and used an emergency connector sealed with metal clamps. 5 minutes, Chief Alabi announced, looking at his luxury watch. "This is more entertaining than I thought." The boy worked, sweating, his hands trembling slightly, not from nervousness, but from the effort. He checked all connections twice, added coolant from a bottle he took from his box, and finally closed the bonnet. "Done," he said, wiping his forehead with the back of his hand, leaving another grease stain. "Done?" Chief Alabi approached the car. "Are you telling me my Rolls-Royce, worth millions of naira, is ready after a dirty boy touched it with his rusty tools?" "Try it," the boy responded, with a confidence that made several onlookers murmur amongst themselves. Chief Alabi looked at Segun. "Start it." The chauffeur got into the car, inserted the key, and turned it. For a second nothing happened, and Chief Alabi began to smile triumphantly. But then the engine roared to life with a perfect purr, smooth and powerful, exactly as a Rolls-Royce should sound. There was no smoke, no strange noises, nothing. It worked perfectly. The crowd that had gathered erupted in applause and shouts of amazement. The boy had achieved the impossible. Chief Adebayo Alabi stood frozen, staring at his car, as if he were seeing it for the first time. His expression shifted from surprise to confusion, and then to something that dangerously resembled shame, though he would never admit it. "No, it can't be," Tunde murmured. "The boy actually did it," Emeka added, incredulous. Ngozi approached the boy with a genuine smile. "That was incredible. How did you learn to do that?" "My father," the boy replied simply, looking at his tools. He taught me everything. He used to say that a true mechanic doesn't need the most expensive tools. He just needs to understand how things work. The words hit Chief Alabi like an invisible punch. He looked at the boy with an expression that was impossible to read, a mixture of impression, annoyance, and something deeper he didn't want to acknowledge. "Well," he finally said, taking out his wallet. "A deal is a deal." He took out 10 5 to 1,000 naira notes, 50,000 total, and extended them to the boy. But when the little one reached out to take them, Chief Alabi let them drop to the ground. "Oops," he said with a cruel smile. "They fell. Pick them up." The boy looked at the notes on the ground, then at Chief Alabi, and finally bent down to pick them up. But when his fingers touched the first note, Chief Alabi placed his Italian leather shoe on his hand. "Wait," he said with a cold voice. "Before you leave with your prize, I want everyone here to know something." The crowd fell silent, sensing that something bad was about to happen. "This boy got lucky," Chief Alabi announced loudly. "Pure beginner's luck. Any real mechanic could have done the same in half the time. There's nothing special here." He removed his foot from the boy's hand, who quickly picked up the notes and put them in his pocket. Silent tears traced clean paths down his greasy cheeks. "Thank you for the money, sir," he said with a broken voice. "My mother needs it for her medicine." And without another word, the boy took his toolbox and began to walk away through the crowd. Onlookers parted to let him pass, many with expressions of pity and anger towards Chief Alabi. "What a disgrace," a woman shouted from the crowd. "The boy saved you, and that's how you treat him." "You should be ashamed," another man added. But Chief Alabi simply got into his car, ordered Segun to start it, and drove away, leaving behind an indignant crowd and a boy who walked alone with his toolbox, 50,000 naira richer, but with a broken heart. What Chief Adebayo Alabi didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this boy wasn't just a talented mechanic. He was Bolu Obi, son of the legendary Obi Adeyemi, the man who had revolutionized the world of automotive mechanics in Nigeria before his tragic death. And what had just happened on that street was not the end of a story of humiliation, but the beginning of a lesson that would change Chief Adebayo Alabi's life forever. Because destiny has curious ways of making people meet again. And when Chief Alabi and Bolu met again, the tables would be completely turned. Bolu walked through the dark streets of Ijora Badia, his toolbox clanking against his leg with every step. The tears had already dried on his face, leaving clean lines amidst the grease and dust. It was almost 9 p.m., and the flickering streetlights barely illuminated the broken sidewalks and closed businesses. In his pocket, the 50,000 naira felt heavy, not because of its value, but because of the price he had paid to get it. Every cruel word from Chief Adebayo Alabi still echoed in his head like an unsilencable echo, but he needed that money. He needed it desperately. He arrived at a 3-story building with peeling paint and rusty-barred windows. He climbed the stairs to the second floor, where a battered wooden door had a faded number, 2B. Before knocking, he took a deep breath, wiped his face with his t-shirt, and tried to smile. His mother couldn't see him like this. "Bolu, is that you, son?" Grace's weak voice came from inside. "Yes, Mama. I'm home," he replied, pushing open the door, which was never locked because the latch had been broken for years. The apartment was small, barely 30 square meters, divided into a living room that also served as a kitchen, a tiny bathroom, and a single bedroom, where they both slept. The walls had damp stains, and the ceiling showed patches where there had once been leaks, but it was clean, tidy. With that touch of dignity, Grace insisted on maintaining despite everything. Grace was sitting on the only sofa in the room, one they had salvaged from the street years ago. She was 42, but looked 50. Her black hair was starting to fill with premature gray strands. Her pale skin showed the fatigue of someone who had been fighting for years, and her hands trembled slightly, a symptom of the illness that was slowly consuming her. "Son, you're late," she said with concern, trying to get up but failing. "I was worried. Did you find any work?" Bolu put his toolbox on the floor and took the 50,000 naira from his pocket, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I got something better, Mama. I fixed a very expensive car. Look." Grace's eyes welled up with tears when she saw the notes. "Bolu, son, where did you get so much money?" "I told you," he said. "I fixed a Rolls Royce. The owner paid me well," he lied, omitting the part about the humiliation and the laughter. Grace took his face in her trembling hands, looking at him with those brown eyes that still held the warmth of better times. "You're just like your father. Obi would be so proud of you." His father's name was like a dagger to Bolu's chest. Obi Adeyemi had been more than a mechanic. He had been a wizard with engines, a man who could diagnose any problem just by listening to the sound of a car. But he had also been the best father in the world, the one who taught him that mechanics wasn't just about turning wrenches, but about understanding the soul of machines. "Mama, we have to go buy your medicine first thing tomorrow morning." Bolu changed the subject. He couldn't bear to talk about his father without breaking down. "Son, with this money, we can buy food too. You haven't eaten well in days. First your medicine, Mama." "I'm fine." Grace hugged him, and Bolu felt his mother tremble. The illness attacking her was a degenerative neurological condition that required expensive medication the public health system didn't fully cover. Every month was a battle to get enough money. "Do you know what day tomorrow is?" Grace asked softly. Bolu knew perfectly well. 3 months since Papa. He couldn't finish the sentence. Grace couldn't either. They simply hugged in silence, sharing a pain that words couldn't express. Obi Adeyemi had died in an accident at the workshop where he worked. A hydraulic lift failed while he was inspecting the underside of a truck, crushing him in seconds. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. The workshop owner, a ruthless man named Baba Ganiyu, didn't even pay the due compensation, arguing that Obi had been negligent. "Your father always said that one day you would be a better mechanic than him," Grace whispered. "He said you had a special gift, that you saw things in engines that others couldn't see." "I'm not better than him, Mama. I'm not even half as good. But you have his talent and his heart." That night, Bolu could barely sleep. He stayed on the sofa, staring at the ceiling, thinking about his father, about Chief Adebayo Alabi, about the way they had treated him. But he also thought about something else, something his father had told him weeks before he died. Bolu, Obi had told him, while they worked together in the workshop, "Someday you're going to meet people who will treat you like you're worthless. They'll laugh at you, they'll belittle you, but remember this. A person's true worth is not in how much money they have or how elegantly they dress. It's in what they can create with their hands and how they treat others." At that moment, Bolu didn't fully understand those words. Now, after what happened with Chief Alabi, he understood them perfectly. The next morning, Bolu woke to the sound of his mother coughing in the bedroom. He quickly got up, scared, but when he entered, Grace smiled weakly. "I'm fine, son. Just the cold morning air. I'll prepare breakfast, and then we'll go get your medicine." With the 50,000 naira, he bought the medications Grace needed for the month, leaving them barely 10,000 naira for food. But it was enough if they were careful, if they ate the basics, if they made every naira count. "Bolu," Grace said as they walked back home, "I need you to promise me something." "Anything, Mama. Don't let people dim your light. I know they treated you badly yesterday. I saw the tear marks on your face when you arrived, but don't let that change you." Bolu didn't ask how she knew. Mothers always know. "I won't change, Mama, I promise you." But destiny had other plans for Bolu Obi, plans that would begin to unfold that very day. When they returned to the apartment, they found a woman waiting in front of their door. She was elegant, about 30 years old, dressed in a professional but approachable business suit. Bolu recognized her immediately. It was Ngozi, Chief Adebayo Alabi's secretary. "Bolu Obi?" she asked with a kind smile. "Yes. What are you doing here?" Bolu responded with distrust, positioning himself protectively in front of his mother. "Relax. I'm not here to cause problems. Quite the opposite." Ngozi took a business card from her purse. "My name is Ngozi Okafor. I work for Chief Alabi. Yesterday, after what happened, I investigated who you were." "For what?" Grace intervened with that maternal instinct of protection. "Because what your son did yesterday was extraordinary, Ma, and because I was ashamed of how we treated him." Ngozi spoke with genuine sincerity. "I discovered that Bolu is the son of Obi Adeyemi." The name dropped like a bomb. Grace stiffened, and Bolu felt his heart quicken. "You knew my husband?" Grace asked cautiously. "Not personally, but everyone in the automotive industry knows his name," Ngozi explained. "Obi Adeyemi was a legend. He revolutionized diagnostic techniques, created repair methods that are now taught in technical schools. His death was a huge loss for the entire community." Bolu didn't know this. He knew his father was good, very good, but he never knew he was recognized beyond the neighborhood. "Why are you here?" Bolu asked directly. Ngozi took a deep breath. "Because Chief Alabi needs a personal mechanic. His car continues to have intermittent problems, and the dealership hasn't been able to solve them. I want to offer you the job." "You're offering me to work for the man who humiliated me yesterday?" Bolu couldn't believe what he was hearing. "I know it sounds absurd," Ngozi admitted, "but the salary would be 500,000 naira a month, plus transportation expenses and tools. It also includes family health insurance." Grace gasped. 500,000 naira a month was more money than they had seen together in years, and health insurance that meant she could receive proper treatment. "No, Mama," Bolu said immediately, reading his mother's thoughts. "I'm not going to work for that man. I'd rather keep looking for jobs on the street." "Bolu, think of your mother," Ngozi pressed gently. "With that salary and health insurance, she could get the treatment she needs. You could stop worrying about how to pay for her medicine every month." "Son," Grace took Bolu's hand, "maybe you should consider it." "Mama, that man stepped on my hand. He made me pick up money from the ground as if I were trash." Bolu's emotions finally exploded. "How can you ask me to work for someone like that?" "Because I love you, Bolu, and because I don't want you to sacrifice your future for my pride." Grace's words broke all of Bolu's defenses. He collapsed, hugging his mother, crying tears he had been holding back since the day before. Ngozi waited patiently, giving them space for that private moment. After a few minutes, she spoke again. "Bolu, I know Chief Alabi behaved terribly yesterday. I can't defend him or justify him, but I also know you have extraordinary talent, and that talent shouldn't be wasted out of pride or anger." "It's not just pride," Bolu responded, wiping away his tears. "It's dignity." "You're right, and I propose something." Ngozi leaned in to be at Bolu's eye level. "Give it a try for 1 month. If in that time Chief Alabi doesn't improve his treatment towards you, you resign, and I will personally help you find another job. But give your mother the opportunity to receive the treatment she needs." Bolu looked at his mother. He saw the hope in her eyes. He saw the trembling in her hands that was getting worse every day, and he knew he had no real option. "Okay," he finally said with a tired voice. "I accept, but with one condition." "Which one?" "If Chief Alabi ever humiliates me again, I'm leaving that same day. No matter the money, no matter the insurance, I'm leaving." "That seems fair to me." Ngozi smiled. "You start on Monday. I'll expect you at 8 a.m. at the Alabi Conglomerate head office. The address is on the card." When Ngozi left, Grace hugged Bolu with all her strength. "Thank you, son. I know this is difficult for you. I would do anything for you, Mama. Anything." That night, as Bolu organized his few belongings for his new job, he found something at the bottom of his toolbox that he hadn't seen in months. It was an old photograph, folded at the corners, of him and his father in the workshop. Both were covered in grease, smiling at the camera, with their arms around each other's shoulders. Behind the photo, in his father's handwriting, it read, "Bolu, one day you're going to be the best. Not because of your hands, but because of your heart. I love you, Papa." Bolu pressed the photo against his chest and cried. He didn't know what awaited him at Alabi Conglomerate. He didn't know if he could bear to work for Chief Alabi after everything, but he knew one thing for sure. He was going to make his father proud. Sunday passed in a mixture of nervousness and preparation. Bolu cleaned his tools until they shone as much as they could. He washed his only semi-decent clothes and studied the advanced automotive mechanics manual his father had left him. Grace prepared the best dinner they could afford, some bean tacos with cheese, and they toasted with zobo for new beginnings and better times. "Papa would be proud of you," Grace said before sleeping. "Not for the job, but because you're choosing love over pride." Monday arrived too quickly. Bolu woke up at 5 a.m. He bathed with cold water, which was all they had, dressed in his clean clothes, and prepared his toolbox. Grace insisted on giving him money for the bus fare, even though he protested. "It's your first day at a real job, son. You'll arrive with dignity." The journey to the city center took more than an hour. Bolu watched from the bus window as Ijora Badia gradually transformed into more prosperous areas, with taller buildings, cleaner streets, and more expensive cars. The Alabi Conglomerate occupied a 20-story glass and steel building in the most exclusive area. Bolu felt completely out of place when he entered the gleaming lobby with his old toolbox and his clothes that, though clean, clearly did not belong in that world. "Can I help you?" The receptionist looked at him with a mix of curiosity and thinly veiled disdain. "I'm here to see Miss Ngozi Okafor. I'm Bolu Obi." The receptionist checked her computer, and her expression changed slightly. "Ah, yes, she's expecting you. Floor 15, office 1502. The elevator was so elegant that Bolu was afraid to touch anything with his hands. When he reached the 15th floor, Ngozi was waiting for him at the reception with a genuine smile. "Bolu, good that you arrived. Come, I'll show you your work area." She guided him through hallways full of glass-doored offices, where impeccably dressed executives worked on state-of-the-art computers. Finally, they reached a service elevator that went down to the underground parking lot. "Your workshop is down here," Ngozi explained. "Chief Alabi has a collection of luxury cars that need constant maintenance. You will be responsible for all of them." When the doors opened, Bolu couldn't help but let his jaw drop. The private parking lot was larger than their entire apartment building. There were at least 20 luxury cars: Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Porsches, and of course, the Rolls-Royce he had fixed. All of these belonged to Chief Alabi? Yes, he's an obsessive collector. Ngozi led him to a corner of the parking lot where a complete mechanical workshop had been set up. This is your workspace. I had them bring professional tools, diagnostic equipment, everything you need. Bolu walked through the workshop as if in a dream. There were tools he had only seen in magazines, state-of-the-art computerized diagnostic equipment, professional hydraulic lifts. It was a paradise for any mechanic. All this is for me? It's for the care of Chief Alabi's cars. But yes, you'll be the one using it. Ngozi smiled at his reaction. Is there anything else? She handed him an envelope. Bolu opened it and found an ID card with his photo. When had they taken his picture? A new mechanic's uniform with his name embroidered, and a debit card. The card has your first payment advanced. Chief Alabi thought you would need money for transportation and meals while you settle in. Bolu looked at the card, then at Ngozi, confused. Chief Alabi did this? Yes, I know it seems strange after how he treated you, but well, maybe he's giving you a chance to redeem himself. Or maybe he just needs someone to take care of his expensive cars. Bolu responded with a touch of bitterness. Ngozi couldn't refute that. Perhaps, but either way, here's your opportunity. Use it well. When do I meet Chief Alabi? He'll arrive in an hour. For now, familiarize yourself with the space. When Ngozi left, Bolu stood alone in the middle of the most equipped workshop he had ever seen. He took the photograph of him and his father from his pocket and placed it on a small shelf. Papa, he whispered, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but I'm doing it for Mama. And I promise you, I'm going to be the best mechanic, no matter who belittles me. An hour later, he heard the unmistakable sound of the Rolls-Royce entering the parking lot. The engine purred perfectly, exactly as Bolu had left it days ago. The car stopped in front of the workshop, and Chief Adebayo Alabi got out with his characteristic elegance. He wore another expensive suit, dark sunglasses, and had that expression of superiority Bolu knew too well. Their gazes met, and for a moment, neither of them said anything. The air felt thick with tension, with memories of humiliation, of wounded pride and intact arrogance. Finally, Chief Alabi spoke. So you accepted to work for me. I accepted to work for your company, Bolu corrected. Not for you. A flash of something surprise crossed Chief Alabi's face. I see you have character. Good, you'll need it. Is that all you have to tell me? What else do you want me to say? That I'm doing you a favor by giving you this job? An apology would be nice. Chief Alabi took off his glasses and looked Bolu directly in the eyes. I don't apologize for telling the truth. Yesterday you got lucky. Today, in a professional environment, we'll see if you're really as good as you think. I don't think I'm good, Bolu responded firmly. I know I am. My father taught me well. Your father is dead, Chief Alabi said with calculated cruelty, and the dead can't help you here. The words were like acid on an open wound. Bolu clenched his fists, feeling rage boil within him, but he remembered his mother's words. He remembered the medicine she needed and took a deep breath. You're right, he said with a controlled voice. My father is dead, but he left me something money cannot buy. Knowledge, skill, and dignity. Something you clearly never had. For the first time, Chief Adebayo Alabi was speechless. Nobody, absolutely nobody, spoke to him like that, and least of all, a 1-2-year-old boy. Be careful how you speak to me, he finally said in a low, dangerous voice. Or what? Are you going to humiliate me again? Are you going to drop my payment on the floor for me to pick up? Bolu took a step forward, fearless. You already did the worst you could do. You no longer have power over me. Chief Alabi opened his mouth to respond, but stopped. There was something in that boy's eyes, a steely determination, an inner strength that made him uncomfortable in ways he didn't understand. Start with the Ferrari, he finally said, pointing to a shiny red car. It has a strange noise in the engine. Diagnose it, and give me a report before noon. Without another word, Chief Alabi walked towards the elevator. But before entering, he turned one last time. Bolu Obi, he said, and it was the first time he used his full name. I didn't hire you out of pity. I hired you because, although it pains me to admit it, you have talent. But talent without discipline is worthless. Here, you are not the son of the legendary Obi Adeyemi. You are just another employee. And like any employee, if you don't perform, you leave. Understood? Understood, Chief Alabi, Bolu responded. May I say something? What? Thank you for the opportunity. Even if you gave it for the wrong reasons, I will make the most of it. Chief Alabi nodded briefly and entered the elevator. When he left, Bolu turned to the Ferrari, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was his first real job, in a professional workshop. And though he hated to admit it, Chief Alabi was right about something. Here, it didn't matter who his father had been. What mattered was who he was. Papa, he whispered, looking at the photograph on the shelf. Give me strength. And with that, Bolu Obi began his first day at Alabi Conglomerate, unaware that this decision would not only change his life, but also change the life of the man who had humiliated him. Because sometimes the people who hurt us the most end up being the ones who learn the most from us. And the real journey was just beginning. Bolu approached the Ferrari 488 GTB with a mixture of admiration and determination. The car was a masterpiece of Italian engineering, blood red, with aerodynamic lines that seemed sculpted by the wind. It was worth over 5 million naira, probably more money than Bolu would see in his entire life. He opened the bonnet with reverential care and found a twin-turbo V8 engine that was pure mechanical perfection, but there was something there, a subtle sound that shouldn't exist. He had heard it when Chief Alabi had parked the car, an almost imperceptible ticking sound coming from the timing belt area. He connected the computerized diagnostic equipment, something he had never used before, but had studied in his father's manuals. The screen lit up with codes and graphs that would be hieroglyphics to most, but to Bolu, they were a clear language. Camshaft sensor reporting irregular readings, he murmured to himself, taking notes in an old notebook he had brought from home. But the sensor is fine, the problem is deeper. He worked for 3 hours non-stop, disassembling covers, checking tensioners, inspecting the timing chain. His hands moved with the precision his father had taught him. Each movement calculated, each piece treated with the respect it deserved. It was then that he found it. One of the timing chain tensioners was starting to fail. It wasn't visible to the naked eye. It didn't appear in computerized diagnostics, but it was there. In a few more months, that tensioner would completely break, and the 5 million naira engine would be destroyed. Papa, I found it, he whispered with a smile, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Just as you taught me, listen beyond the noise. He was documenting everything in his report when he heard voices approaching. It wasn't just Chief Alabi. There were several men talking in tones of important business. And that's why we need to close the deal this week, said a voice Bolu didn't recognize. The Japanese won't wait any longer. Chief Alabi appeared in the workshop accompanied by 4 men in expensive suits. Bolu recognized Tunde and Emeka from that day on the street, but the other 2 were unknown. One was Japanese, the other European by his accent. Bolu, Chief Alabi called him with a tone that was professional but cold. Did you finish the diagnosis? Yes, sir. Bolu wiped his hands with a cloth and grabbed his report. The Ferrari has a failing timing chain tensioner. It's not visible in standard diagnostics. But how much will it cost to fix? Chief Alabi interrupted, clearly more interested in impressing his guests than in listening to technical explanations. I need to order the part, with installation, about 2 million naira. 2 million? One of the men, the one with a European accent, Mr. Dubois, whistled, impressed. These luxury cars are expensive toys, Chief Alabi, but they're worth every penny. Indeed, Chief Alabi responded with pride. Then he looked at Bolu with an expression that clearly said, Go, order the part. You may leave. Wait. The Japanese man, Mr. Takashi, who had been observing Bolu with curiosity, spoke. This boy is your mechanic? He seems very young. He's temporary, Chief Alabi responded with barely hidden disdain. Until I find a real professional. The words were a verbal slap, but Bolu was already used to it. He began to gather his tools when Mr. Takashi approached him. What is your name? He asked in English, with a marked but educated accent. Bolu Obi, sir. The man stood still for a second. Obi? Your father was Obi Adeyemi? The entire workshop fell silent. Bolu nodded slowly, surprised that this stranger knew his father. You knew my father? Knew him? Obi Adeyemi saved my business. The man spoke with genuine enthusiasm. 10 years ago, my company imported Japanese cars into Nigeria. We had a massive problem with 100 cars that were failing. Nobody could diagnose the problem. Obi solved it in 2 days. 2 days! What Japanese engineers couldn't do in months. Chief Alabi looked uncomfortable, as if the ground beneath him was shifting. Mr. Takashi, I didn't know you knew the boy's father. Obi Adeyemi was a genius. Takashi continued, ignoring Chief Alabi. He taught me that mechanics is not just science, it's art. It's understanding the soul of machines. He turned to Bolu. Your father taught you? Everything I know comes from him, Bolu responded, feeling the knot in his throat that always appeared when he spoke of his father. Then you are more valuable than Chief Alabi believes, Takashi said, looking significantly at his host. A mechanic trained by Obi Adeyemi is not temporary. He is a treasure. The tension in the air was palpable. Chief Alabi clearly didn't appreciate one of his important guests defending the boy he had hired more out of obligation than respect. Well, Bolu has potential. Chief Alabi tried to regain control of the situation. That's why I gave him this opportunity. Gave him the opportunity? Bolu spoke without thinking, the words coming out before he could stop them. You humiliated me in the middle of the street. You made me pick up money from the ground and stepped on my hand. You didn't give me any opportunity. I was forced to take it because my mother needs medicine. The silence that followed was absolute. The guests looked between Chief Alabi and Bolu with expressions ranging from surprise to discomfort. Tunde and Emeka looked away, clearly remembering that day. Bolu, Chief Alabi said in a dangerously low voice, you're fired. Take your things and leave. Chief Alabi! Takashi intervened firmly. What are you talking about? This young man only spoke the truth. The truth is, Mr. Dubois added critically, you mistreated a child. That says a lot about your character, Alabi. Chief Alabi turned red with fury. He wasn't used to being questioned, much less in front of international business partners. This is a private matter, he said through clenched teeth. This is a matter of principles, Takashi responded. Obi Adeyemi helped me when no one else could. He saved my company, and because of that, I owe his son a debt. He turned to Bolu. Young man, how much does Chief Alabi pay you? 500,000 a month, sir. I offer you 1,500,000 naira monthly to work for my company. Plus, full benefits for you and your family. You start whenever you want. The offer fell like a nuclear bomb. 1,500,000 naira a month was a fortune for Bolu. He could give his mother the best treatment. They could move to a better place. They could live with dignity. But before he could respond, Ngozi appeared running from the elevator, her face pale and scared. Chief Alabi, there's an emergency. Your sister, Aisha, is in the hospital. She had a serious car accident. Chief Alabi's world stopped. Aisha, his younger sister, the only family member who truly mattered to him. Which hospital? Street Jude's private hospital. They say it's critical. Chief Alabi ran to his Rolls Royce, but when he turned the key, the engine wouldn't start. He tried again. Nothing. A third time, the car was completely dead. No, 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 he shouted, pounding the steering wheel. Not now! Segun, the chauffeur, tried to help, but he had no idea what to do. Tunde offered his car, but it was in the service workshop. Emeka had come by taxi. Minutes passed like hours, and Chief Alabi was falling apart. Let me see, Bolu said, approaching the Rolls Royce. I don't have time for your games, Chief Alabi yelled, tears of desperation beginning to form. Then let me help, Bolu said firmly. Or is your pride more important than your sister? The words hit Chief Alabi like a punch. He looked at Bolu, saw the determination in his eyes, and for the first time in his life, Chief Adebayo Alabi had to swallow his arrogance. Please, he whispered, please, help me. Bolu opened the bonnet and began to work faster than he had ever worked. His hands flew over the engine, checking connections, inspecting systems. He found the problem in less than 2 minutes. A critical fuse in the ignition system had failed. I need a 30 amp fuse, he said. I don't have one, Segun replied, desperate. I do. Bolu ran to his toolbox, took out the exact fuse, and installed it in the Rolls Royce. Try it now. Chief Alabi turned the key, and the engine roared to life. It works, he cried, almost unable to believe it. He looked at Bolu with an expression that was completely new, genuine gratitude mixed with deep shame. Go to the hospital, Bolu said simply. Your sister needs you. Thank you, Chief Alabi whispered. And in that word, there was more emotion than in everything he had said before. Thank you, Bolu. The Rolls Royce sped out of the parking lot, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Takashi approached Bolu and put a hand on his shoulder. You just saved more than a car, young man. You saved a man's chance to see his sister. That is priceless. I just did what was right, Bolu responded, feeling strangely empty. Precisely, Takashi said. That's why my offer still stands. 1,500,000 naira monthly. Think about it. When the guests left, Bolu was left alone in the workshop. He looked at the photograph of his father on the shelf and felt tears stream down his cheeks. Papa, I don't know if I did well. I helped the man who humiliated me. Why don't I feel satisfaction? Why do I only feel sad? Ngozi returned hours later with news. Aisha is going to be fine. They arrived on time. The doctors say that if Chief Alabi had been 15 minutes later, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Chief Alabi wants to see you tomorrow, she added. He said, it's important. That night, Bolu arrived home, exhausted emotionally and physically. Grace was waiting for him with dinner ready, her bean and rice stew that tasted of unconditional love. How was your first day? She asked, with that smile she always kept for him. Complicated, Mama. Bolu didn't know where to start. Very complicated. He told her everything. The Ferrari, Mr. Takashi, the offer of 1,500,000 naira, Aisha's emergency, how he saved Chief Alabi's car. Grace listened in silence, her eyes moist. Do you know what your father would have done? She finally said. What? Exactly what you did. Helped. Because good mechanics don't just fix machines. They fix lives. Your father knew that, and now you do too. But he offered me triple the money, Mama. 1,500,000 naira. We could live better. Yes, Grace interrupted gently. But would you live in peace? Chief Adebayo Alabi is terrible, arrogant, cruel. But today you saw something in him, didn't you? You saw a desperate brother. You saw humanity. Bolu nodded, unable to deny it. Give him a chance to change, Grace continued. Not for him, for you, because vengeance weighs heavy, son, and I don't want you to carry that weight. The next day, Bolu arrived early at the workshop. Chief Alabi was already there, sitting in a chair, his eyes red from lack of sleep. He looked completely different, without his armor of arrogance. Bolu, he said when he saw him enter. Thank you for coming. How is your sister? Stable. She's going to make a full recovery. Chief Alabi stood up slowly. The doctor said that if I had arrived later, if you hadn't fixed the car, he couldn't finish. For the first time, Bolu saw tears in Chief Adebayo Alabi's eyes. Listen, Chief Alabi continued with a broken voice. I have been terrible to you. I have no excuse. I treated you like trash when you are. When you are extraordinary. Your father would be proud. My father taught me to help without expecting anything in return, Bolu responded. That's why I helped yesterday. I know. And that's why. Chief Alabi took a deep breath. That's why I want to apologize truly, not just with words, but with actions. What do you mean? I want you to stay, not as a temporary employee, but as head of mechanics for my entire collection. 1,250,000 naira monthly, full medical insurance for your family, and I will personally pay for your mother's specialized treatment at a private clinic. Bolu was breathless. It was almost as much as Takashi's offer, but with something more, the opportunity to see if people could truly change. Why are you doing this? He asked with justified distrust. Because yesterday I realized something. Chief Alabi wiped away his tears shamelessly. I have millions of naira, luxury cars, businesses in 3 countries. But when my sister was dying, all that was worth nothing. The only thing that mattered was getting there on time. And a 1-2-year-old boy whom I had humiliated was the one who gave me that opportunity. He sat down again, covering his face with his hands. I have been a monster, Bolu, with my employees, with my family, with you. But last night, sitting in that hospital, I saw my sister connected to machines, and I asked myself, what if I end up like this? Who would come to visit me? Who would care? Your family would come, Bolu said in a low voice. My sister, yes. But do you know what she told me when she woke up? He smiled faintly. She told me, Adebayo, you stop being an idiot, or I swear I'll never speak to you again. Those were her first words. Despite everything, Bolu couldn't help but smile a little. I accept your offer, he finally said, but with a condition. Whatever it is, treat all your employees well. Not just me, Ngozi Segun, everyone. Because if I see you continue to be cruel to others, I'm leaving. I don't care about the money. Chief Alabi looked at him with something that could have been respect. Deal, he extended his hand. And this time when Bolu shook it, there was no mockery or cruelty, just 2 people coming to an understanding. One more thing, Bolu added. How did you know exactly which fuse it was? In the darkness of panic, without diagnostic tools? Bolu smiled, remembering. My father used to say that good mechanics listen to the silence. The Rolls-Royce made no sound when you turned the key. That meant an electrical problem before the engine. And the ignition fuse is always the first to fail in stressful situations. Your father was wise. He was. Bolu felt the familiar knot in his throat. And I hope one day to be as good as him. You already are, Chief Alabi said with sincerity. Believe me, you already are. That day marked a change at Alabi conglomerate. Chief Alabi began to treat his employees differently. Not perfectly, but better. And Bolu became more than a mechanic. He became a living reminder that true wealth is not in what you have, but in who you are. But the story was far from over, because the past has ways of returning, and secrets about Obi Adeyemi's death were about to come to light. Secrets that would change everything. 3 weeks had passed since that day at the hospital. Alabi conglomerate had changed in ways no one would have imagined. Chief Alabi greeted employees by name, asked about their families, had even increased salaries. It was as if Aisha's accident had awakened something in him that had been dormant for years. Bolu worked in the workshop every day, caring for the car collection with a dedication that impressed everyone. Grace had begun her treatment at the private clinic, and the doctors were amazed at how quickly she responded. For the first time in years, Bolu felt that things were going well, but that morning everything was about to change. Bolu was under a Lamborghini Aventador, checking the suspension system, when he heard voices approaching. It wasn't Chief Alabi's voice, but someone speaking with desperate urgency. Please, I need to talk to someone. It's about Obi Adeyemi. Bolu rolled out from under the car so fast that he hit his head on the fender. In front of him was a man of about 50, thin, with dirty work clothes, and a face marked by years of hard labor. His hands trembled as he held a worn cap. What did you say about my father? Bolu asked, jumping to his feet. The man looked at him with tear-filled eyes. Are you Obi's son, Bolu? Yes, it's me. Who are you? My name is Malam Yusuf. I worked with your father at Baba Ganyu's auto shop. The man practically collapsed against a car. I've been looking for you for 3 months. I need to tell you the truth about what happened that day. Bolu's world stopped. Ngozi, who had accompanied Malam Yusuf, immediately called Chief Alabi. In 5 minutes, they were all gathered in the private office. Bolu, Malam Yusuf, Chief Alabi, Ngozi, and Segun, who had insisted on being present because he had known Obi. Tell us everything, Chief Alabi said in a serious voice, sitting next to Bolu in a protective gesture that surprised everyone. Malam Yusuf took a deep breath, wiping his tears. The day Obi died, it wasn't an accident. The words fell like a bomb. Bolu stood up so fast that he knocked over his chair. What are you saying? The hydraulic lift didn't fail on its own, Malam Yusuf continued with a broken voice. Baba Ganiyu sabotaged it. He cut the safety cables and deactivated the alarms. Why? Chief Alabi asked, his voice filled with contained rage. Why would anyone do that? Because Obi discovered something. Malam Yusuf took a crumpled envelope from his jacket. Baba Ganiyu was stealing parts from the cars we repaired and replacing them with counterfeit parts. He was making millions from the business. Obi found the evidence and threatened to expose him. Bolu felt his legs give way. Chief Alabi had to help him sit down again. My father was murdered? Baba Ganiyu planned everything? Malam Yusuf took documents from the envelope. I was there. I saw Baba Ganiyu inspect the lift before Obi arrived. I saw how he made sure no one else was around when your father got under the truck. And why didn't you say anything? Ngozi asked with incredulity. Because he threatened my family, Malam Yusuf cried, pain and guilt overwhelming him. He said that if I spoke, something would happen to my wife and my children. I have 3 children, madam. 3 small children. What was I supposed to do? The silence in the office was suffocating. Bolu stared blankly at the documents without really seeing them. His father hadn't died in an accident. He had been murdered by a ruthless man who preferred to kill rather than lose his dirty business. Why are you coming now? Chief Alabi asked, his voice unusually gentle. Because Baba Ganiyu is doing the same thing again, Malam Yusuf explained. There's a new mechanic in the workshop, a young boy like Bolu. 2 weeks ago, he discovered the fraud. Baba Ganiyu threatened him, but the boy wasn't scared. And now Baba Ganiyu is planning another accident. Bolu stood up so fast that everyone jumped. We have to stop him. We have to go to the police now. It's not that simple, Malam Yusuf said bitterly. Baba Ganiyu has contacts in the police. He pays them well to ignore his business. That's why I came here. Someone told me Obi's son worked for Chief Adebayo Alabi, one of the most powerful men in the city. Everyone looked at Chief Alabi, who had remained silent, processing the information. When he spoke, his voice had that steel tone he used in the most important business dealings. Give me the workshop's name and address. Baba Ganiyu's auto shop on Industrial Avenue, Malam Yusuf replied. But, Chief Alabi, Baba Ganiyu is dangerous. He has violent people working for him. I have people too. Chief Alabi took out his phone and began to make calls. And I also have lawyers, private investigators, and contacts that are far above any corrupt police officer. While Chief Alabi spoke on the phone, Bolu approached Malam Yusuf, tears streaming down his face. You knew my father. What was he like at work? Malam Yusuf smiled through his own tears. He was the best man I knew, always helping others, always teaching. When my youngest son fell ill and I had no money for medicine, Obi gave me his own salary. He said family was more important than anything. That was my papa, Bolu whispered, always thinking of others before himself. And that's why his death has been killing me these 3 months. Malam Yusuf broke down completely. Every night I see his face. I hear the sound of that lift falling. I hate myself for not doing anything. It's not your fault, Bolu said, though the words were difficult for him. You were protecting your family. Your father would have done the right thing no matter the consequences, Malam Yusuf responded. He was a better man than I. Chief Alabi finished his calls and turned to the group. Done. I have a team of investigators going to the workshop right now. They're going to document everything. The counterfeit parts, the altered records, the connections with corrupt police. I've also hired private security for the young mechanic who is in danger. How much is all this going to cost you? Malam Yusuf asked, astonished. I don't care, Chief Alabi responded firmly. Obi Adeyemi indirectly saved my sister's life by teaching his son everything. I owe him this. He turned to Bolu, putting a hand on his shoulder. And I owe this young man much more. He taught me that money without humanity is worthless. 2 hours later, the team of investigators called with news. They had found everything. A warehouse full of counterfeit auto parts, documents proving years of fraud, evidence of bribes to police officers. But most importantly, they had found the original maintenance report for the hydraulic lift, the one that proved Baba Ganyu had sabotaged the equipment. We've got him, Chief Alabi announced. The Attorney General is a friend of mine. With this evidence, Baba Ganyu is going to prison for murder. Bolu should have felt satisfaction, victory, justice, but he only felt emptiness. Catching his father's killer wouldn't bring him back. It wouldn't fill the void he left in their lives. Bolu. Ngozi approached with concern. Are you okay? I don't know, he responded honestly. For 3 months, I thought Papa died in an accident. Now I know someone killed him. I don't know how to feel. Feel whatever you need to feel, Chief Alabi said. And there was an understanding in his voice that didn't exist weeks ago. Rage is valid. Pain is valid. Everything you feel is valid. That afternoon, the police arrested Baba Ganyu at his workshop. News cameras were there capturing the moment a man who had thought he was untouchable was handcuffed and taken to prison. The young mechanic who had been in danger was safe thanks to the security Chief Alabi had hired. Bolu watched the news on the workshop television, unable to look away. There was the man who killed his father, being dragged into a police vehicle while shouting that he was innocent. Liar, Bolu whispered with venom. Coward, liar. Grace arrived at the workshop shortly after, having heard the news. She ran to Bolu and hugged him with a strength that didn't seem possible in her weak body. My child, my poor child. Now we know the truth. Mama. Papa was murdered. Bolu broke down completely in his mother's arms. They killed him because he wanted to do the right thing. That's why he was a hero, Grace whispered, stroking her son's hair. Not because he was the best mechanic, but because he was the best man. Chief Alabi watched the scene from a distance with Ngozi by his side. I will never forgive myself for how I treated that boy, he said in a low voice. The son of a hero, and I trampled him as if he were nothing. But you changed, Ngozi responded, and that counts. Counts? His father is dead. Nothing I do can change that. You cannot bring his father back, Ngozi said gently. But you can ensure that Obi Adeyemi's legacy continues through Bolu. That night, after Grace took Bolu home, Chief Alabi stayed alone in his office. On his desk was the complete investigation file on Obi Adeyemi, not just the murder documents, but his entire professional history. Obi had revolutionized diagnostic techniques that were now taught in schools. He had trained dozens of mechanics who now worked in the best companies. He had solved problems no one else could solve. And he had done it all with humility, without seeking fame or recognition. He was everything I am not, Chief Alabi murmured to himself. Or what I was not. He made a decision then, one that would change not only his life, but the lives of many others. The next morning, Chief Alabi called an urgent meeting with Bolu and Grace. When they arrived, they found the office full of lawyers, accountants, and company executives. What's going on? Bolu asked, confused. Please, have a seat. Chief Alabi indicated 2 specially prepared chairs. I have something important to announce. He waited for everyone to be silent before speaking. For weeks, I have been reflecting on legacy, on what we leave behind in this world when we depart. Baba Ganiyu will leave a legacy of lies and death. Obi Adeyemi left a legacy of excellence and kindness. He turned directly to Bolu. I want to create something that honors your father, something that ensures his name is never forgotten. Chief Alabi pressed a button, and a presentation appeared on the giant screen. It was the design of a modern and beautiful technical school, the Obi Auto Tech Institute, he announced. A free school where less privileged youths can learn automotive mechanics, engineering, and technical trades. The best teachers, the best equipment, full scholarships that include books, uniforms, and food support. Bolu couldn't believe what he was seeing. Grace openly wept. The school will open next year, Chief Alabi continued. Capacity for 200 students per cycle. And you, Bolu, will be part of the executive board, along with your mother. Why are you doing this? Bolu asked, his voice trembling. Because your father saved me without knowing it, Chief Alabi responded. He saved me by raising a son who taught me what truly matters in life. And because the world needs more people like Obi Adeyemi, not more people like me. He approached Bolu and for the first time, hugged him, genuinely. Forgive me for how I treated you. Forgive me for not recognizing greatness when I had it in front of me. I forgive you, Bolu said, crying in the embrace. My father would have wanted me to forgive you. News of the Obi Auto Tech Institute spread like wildfire. Dozens of companies offered donations. Mechanics who had been trained by Obi offered to teach for free. The entire community united to honor a man who had given everything without asking for anything in return. But for Bolu, the most important thing was not the school or the recognition. It was knowing that his father had not died in vain, that his struggle to do what was right, though it cost him his life, had planted seeds that now grew in ways he never imagined. That night, Bolu stayed in the workshop after everyone else had left. He held the photograph of him and his father, looking at it under the dim light of the work lamp. Papa, he whispered, we caught the man who killed you, and your name will live forever. Hundreds of young people will learn what you taught me. They will carry your legacy forward. The wind blew through the open window, gently moving the photograph. And in that moment, Bolu felt something he hadn't felt since his father's death. Peace. Justice had been served. The legacy was secured. And Bolu knew that even though his father was no longer physically present, he would live forever in every repaired engine, in every student taught, in every life touched by his example. Obi Adeyemi had been murdered, but his spirit was indestructible, and that was the greatest victory of all. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the Obi Auto Tech Institute, illuminating workshops equipped with the latest technology. 4 years had passed since that day Chief Alabi announced the school's creation. 4 years of construction, planning, and finally, 2 years of operation that had changed hundreds of lives. Bolu Obi, now 16 years old, walked through the hallways with a folder under his arm. He was no longer the thin, scared boy who fixed cars on the street. He had become a confident young man with the same determined gaze as his father, but with a maturity that came from having faced and overcome life's toughest challenges. Professor Bolu. A youthful voice called him from one of the workshops. It was a 5-year-old student named Chuki, in an impeccable uniform and grease-stained hands. The Volkswagen engine is still making that strange noise. Can you help me, Professor Bolu? Bolu Smilet. Although he was technically too young to be an official professor, the students called him that out of respect. He was an instructor, assistant, mentor, and a living example that dreams could be achieved no matter where you came from. Let's take a look together. Bolu entered the workshop where Chuki was working. Did you check the timing belt system already? Yes, but I can't find anything. Bolu leaned over the engine, listening carefully to that sound, that familiar ticking. Close your eyes, Chuki. Don't look. Listen. The student obeyed, and after a minute, his eyes opened with surprise. It's the tensioner, the same problem you taught us last week. Exactly. Now you know what to do. While Chuki worked with renewed confidence, Bolu watched with pride. This was his father's legacy. Not just teaching mechanics, but teaching to think, to listen, to understand. Bolu. Ngozi's voice came from the door. She was now the administrative director of the institute, having left her job with Chief Alabi to dedicate herself completely to this project. Your mother is in the boardroom. She says it's important. Bolu found Grace sitting next to Chief Alabi, both reviewing documents with serious but satisfied expressions. His mother looked completely different from that weak woman of years ago. The treatment had worked miraculously. Although she still needed medication, the trembling had almost completely disappeared, and the color had returned to her face. "Son," Grace smiled as he entered. "We have important news." Chief Alabi pointed to the documents. "The government has just approved our application. The Obi Autotech Institute will be officially recognized as an institution of higher education. Students will receive nationally valid technical diplomas." That means, Bolu couldn't believe it. It means that the young people who graduate from here will have the same opportunities as any student from a private university, Grace explained with tears of happiness. "Your father would be so proud." "There's something else," Chief Alabi added, pushing another document towards Bolu. 5 international automotive companies want to sign agreements with us. They will offer specialization scholarships abroad for our best students. Bolu felt his heart leap out of his chest. Papa dreamed of something like this. He always said that Nigerian talent was as good as any other. It just needed opportunities. And now it has them. Chief Alabi stood up and walked towards the window that overlooked the main courtyard, where dozens of students worked on different vehicles. "Do you know how many young people have passed through these doors in 2 years? 183. Bolu responded without hesitation. He knew every name, every story. 183 changed lives. Chief Alabi turned with an expression Bolu had learned to recognize as genuine emotion. Families lifted out of poverty, dreams made real. All because a 1-2-year-old boy taught me that true wealth is not in what you have, but in what you give. At that moment, Malam Yusuf entered, who now worked as the Institute's security coordinator. After testifying against Baba Ganiu, he had dedicated his life to protecting the students and ensuring they never faced the dangers he couldn't prevent for Obi. "Excuse the interruption," he said with a smile. "But there's someone at reception who wants to see Bolu. Says, it's urgent." Bolu went down to the reception and found a young man of about 20, well-dressed, with a professional briefcase. He looked vaguely familiar. "Bolu Obi?" the young man asked with an excited voice. "I don't know if you remember me. I'm David Okoro." Bolu looked at him more closely, and then he recognized him. "David? The mechanic who was in danger at Baba Ganyu's workshop?" "The same." David extended his hand with gratitude. "You saved my life." "Well, your boss Chief Alabi sent the security, but it was because of you." "What are you doing here?" "I came to say thank you personally." David opened his briefcase and took out documents. "After Baba Ganyu was arrested, I studied mechanical engineering. I graduated last month with honors. I got a job at a German company, and part of my contract is that I can bring an apprentice with me to Germany." He handed an envelope to Bolu. "I want it to be you. 6 months of training in Stuttgart, at the Mercedes-Benz plant, all expenses paid." Bolu was speechless. Germany, Mercedes-Benz. It was every mechanic's dream. "David, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," David insisted. "You're 16 years old, and you're already a better mechanic than most professionals, with 20 years of experience. Imagine what you could learn there." "I need to think about it," Bolu responded honestly. "I have responsibilities here. The students, my mother. I understand, but think about it quickly. The program starts in 2 months. That night, Bolu arrived home, the same apartment where he had lived his entire life, though now renovated and comfortable thanks to his salary. Grace was preparing dinner when he entered with a thoughtful expression. "You look worried, son. What happened?" Bolu told her about David's offer. Grace listened in silence, without interrupting, with that maternal wisdom that always knew when to speak and when to simply be present. "It's an incredible opportunity," she finally said. "Your father would have given anything for an opportunity like that. But I can't leave you alone, Mama, and the institute students need me." Grace sat next to him, taking his hands in hers. "Bolu, since you were 12, you've been taking care of me, working, sacrificing. You've never been selfish, not for a single day. Now it's time for you to think about yourself." But nothing," she interrupted gently. "I'm fine. The treatment works. I have savings, and Ngozi visits me every week. The students have other excellent instructors, and 6 months isn't forever. Do you really think I should go? I think your father is pushing you from heaven to accept." Grace smiled with tears in her eyes. "He always wanted you to see the world, to learn everything possible. Don't let fear stop you." The next day, Bolu sought out Chief Alabi in his office at Alabi Conglomerate. The building was still impressive, but now Bolu walked through its hallways with confidence, greeted by employees who knew and respected him. "Bolu," Chief Alabi greeted him with a hug, something that had become a custom between them. "What brings you here?" Bolu told him about the offer from Germany and his doubts. Chief Alabi listened attentively, nodding occasionally. "Do you know what's the hardest thing about being a mentor?" Chief Alabi asked when Bolu finished. "It's letting go of the people you care about, knowing they need to fly on their own." "So, you think I should go?" "I think you're afraid to be happy," Chief Alabi responded with the brutal honesty he had learned to use with love. "For 4 years, you've been taking care of others. Your mother, the students, even me, when I needed to learn to be a better person. Now someone is offering to take care of you, and it scares you." The words hit Bolu because they were true. "Your father gave his life to do what was right," Chief Alabi continued. "Don't let his sacrifice be in vain by living with fear. Live fully, learn everything, become the best, and then come back and share that knowledge. And if something happens to my mother while I'm away, then I'll be here," Chief Alabi said firmly. "I give you my word. I will take care of Grace as if she were my own mother, and if any emergency happens, I'll bring you back in my private jet." Bolu felt the weight of years of responsibility begin to lift from his shoulders. "Would you really do that?" "Bolu, 4 years ago, a child saved my sister's life when I didn't deserve his help. Since then, I've been trying to be worthy of that act of kindness. Letting you go and fulfill your dreams is the least I can do." A week later, the institute organized a special assembly. All the students, teachers, and staff were gathered in the main auditorium. Bolu walked onto the stage nervously, looking at the faces of the people who had become his extended family. "I have an announcement to make," he began, his voice amplified by the loudspeakers. "I have received an opportunity to study in Germany for 6 months." A murmur ran through the auditorium. Chuki, his favorite student, looked particularly dismayed. "I know some of you are worried," Bolu continued. "I was too, but I realized something important. My father always said that knowledge is only valuable if it is shared. If I go to Germany, it's not to leave you, it's to bring back new techniques, new ideas, to make this institute even better." The students began to applaud slowly at first, then with more force. "Besides," Bolu smiled, "6 months will fly by, and when I return, we're going to implement everything I learn. We're going to make the Obiado Tech Institute recognized not only in Nigeria but throughout the world." The ovation was deafening. Chuki stood up and shouted, "When you come back, teach me everything, Professor Bolu." Other students joined in. "Bring German technology, learn from the best, make your father's name shine in Europe." That night, Bolu went to the Ikoyi cemetery where Obi rested. The grave now had a beautiful marble headstone paid for by Chief Alabi with the words, "Obi Adeyemi, mechanic, teacher, hero." His legacy lives in every repaired engine and every changed life. Bolu knelt in front of the grave, placing fresh flowers. "Papa," he spoke in the darkness, "I'm going to do something that scares me a lot. I'm going to Germany to study. I know you always wanted me to see the world, to learn from the best." The wind blew gently, rustling the leaves of nearby trees. "Mama is fine. The institute is growing. Chief Alabi is no longer the man he was. Everything is turning out as you would have wanted." Bolu felt tears streaming down his face. "But I still miss you every day. There are still moments when I need your advice, your voice, your hug." He took out the old photograph of both of them that he always carried in his wallet. "I'm going to take you with me to Germany, Papa. In my heart, in my work, in every engine I touch. And when I return, I will continue to honor your name." He stood up slowly, wiping away his tears. "Thank you for teaching me that a person's true worth is not in their money or their position, but in their heart and their hands. I will make you proud." As he walked back to the cemetery exit, Bolu felt something he hadn't felt in years. Pure excitement for the future. Not fear, not anxiety, just the anticipation of new adventures and new learning. 2 months passed in a whirlwind of preparations. Passport, visa, goodbyes, last classes at the institute. Finally, the day of departure arrived. At the airport, Grace, Chief Alabi, Ngozi, Segun, Malam Yusuf, and at least 30 students from the institute gathered to bid him farewell. There were banners, balloons, and many tears. "Take good care, son." Grace hugged him tightly. "Call every week. Eat well and don't forget your jacket when it's cold." "Mama, I'll be fine," Bolu reassured her, though his own tears contradicted his calm tone. Chief Alabi approached and handed him an envelope. "Something for extra expenses. Don't argue, just accept it." "Chief Alabi, you already paid for everything, and—" "I'm going to keep paying for everything you need," Chief Alabi interrupted. "You're like the son I never had, Bolu. Let me do this." They embraced, 2 people who had started as enemies and had become family. Chuki and the other students approached with a wrapped gift. "Open it on the plane, Professor," Chuki said, with a voice broken by emotion. When his flight was called, Bolu walked towards the boarding gate, turning back every few steps to wave. At the gate, he stopped one last time, looking at all the people he loved. 6 months, he shouted. "See you in 6 months." "We love you, Bolu," everyone shouted in unison. On the plane, as they took off and Lagos became smaller and smaller below, Bolu opened the gift from his students. It was a photo album of the institute with messages written by each student and teacher. "Thank you for teaching us that dreams have no limits. You showed us that humility and talent go hand in hand. Come back soon, Professor. We'll miss you." On the last page was a photo of Obi's statue that Chief Alabi had commissioned and installed at the institute's entrance. And below, in Grace's handwriting, "Your father watches you from the stars, proud of the man you have become. Fly high, my child. Your legacy is just beginning." Bolu closed the album and looked out the window at the infinite sky. 6 months in Germany, 6 months to grow, learn, and become the best version of himself. And then, he would return. He would return to change even more lives, to expand his father's legacy, to demonstrate that a child once humiliated on the street could conquer the world. Bolu Obi's story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The German winter had been harsh, but Bolu had survived and thrived. Stuttgart became his second home during those magical months. At the Mercedes-Benz plant, he learned computerized diagnostic techniques he didn't even know existed. He worked with engineers from 5 different countries and discovered that his father's legacy preceded him even in Europe. "Obi Adeyemi was your father?" A German engineer named Klaus had asked him in his second week. I read his article on acoustic diagnostics. It revolutionized our way of training mechanics here in Germany. Bolu didn't know his father had published articles. He didn't know his influence had crossed oceans. Every day he discovered something new about the man who had raised him, and every discovery filled him with pride and determination. But now, 6 months later, he was back on the plane to Nigeria with a suitcase full of certificates, technical manuals, and gifts for everyone. More importantly, he returned with ideas that would transform the institute. When the plane landed in Lagos, Bolu felt an emotion he hadn't experienced in Germany, the feeling of being home. He exited the arrivals terminal and was met with a scene he would never forget. It wasn't 30 people this time. It was over 200 current students, graduates, professors, Alibi conglomerate employees. And in the center of it all, Grace, holding a huge banner that read, "Welcome, home, son, Bolu, Bolu, Bolu." They chanted in unison. Bolu ran to his mother. Hugging her so tightly, he almost lifted her off the ground. "Mama, I missed you so much." "And I missed you too, my child, but look what you've achieved." Grace pointed to the crowd. "Everyone came to welcome you. Everyone loves you." Chief Alabi approached, looking younger and happier than Bolu had ever seen him. "Welcome, son. How was Germany?" "Incredible. I have so many things to tell you. So many ideas." "I know," Chief Alabi smiled mysteriously. "That's why we organized something special for tomorrow, a conference at the Institute. We want you to share everything you learned." The next day, the Institute's auditorium was completely full. Not just students, but also owners of mechanical workshops from across the city, representatives of automotive companies, journalists, and educational authorities. Bolu walked onto the stage, feeling butterflies in his stomach. It was one thing to work with students one-on-one, and quite another to speak in front of 300 people. But when he saw his mother in the front row, smiling at him with pride, he remembered all the times she had been strong for him. "Good afternoon, everyone," he began, his voice clear despite the nervousness. 6 months ago, I boarded a plane, terrified. I had never left the country, never been away from my family, and I didn't know if I would be good enough to be at Mercedes-Benz. The audience listened in absolute silence. "But I discovered something important in Germany," he continued. "I discovered that the knowledge my father gave me, the techniques I learned on the streets of this city, were just as valuable as any training in Europe. The difference is not where you learn, but how much passion you put into it." He projected images on the giant screen behind him. Photos of the Mercedes-Benz plant, of him working with German engineers, of certificates and recognitions. "In Germany, I learned advanced diagnostic techniques. Yes, but I also taught them something. I taught them Obi Adeyemi's acoustic diagnostic method, my father. And you know what? They were so impressed that they are now implementing it in their training program." A murmur of pride swept through the audience. Chuki, sitting in the third row, had tears in his eyes. But the most important thing I learned, Bolu paused, letting his words resonate, is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you started fixing cars on the street or if you studied at the best university. What matters is your heart, your dedication, and your willingness to never stop learning. He looked directly at the students. Many of you come from difficult neighborhoods. Many have families struggling to survive. Some have been belittled, humiliated, or ignored. I went through all of that, but I'm here to tell you that those experiences do not define you. What defines you is how you respond to them. The emotion in the auditorium was palpable. Several students openly cried. My father was murdered for doing what was right. Bolu felt his own voice crack, but he continued. It would have been easy to become bitter, full of hatred, but instead, I chose to honor his memory by being the best mechanic, the best teacher, the best person I could be. He pointed to Chief Alabi, who was sitting next to Grace. And that man there, Chief Adebayo Alabi, humiliated me in the worst possible way when we first met. He made me pick up money from the ground. He treated me like trash. But you know what I learned? That people can change, that redemption is real, and that forgiving doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. Chief Alabi discreetly wiped a tear, nodding in acknowledgement. So my message to you is this. Bolu raised his voice with passion. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Don't let circumstances define you. And above all, never forget that knowledge without kindness is useless, but kindness with knowledge can change the world. The ovation that followed was deafening. Everyone stood up, applauding until their hands hurt. Chuki ran to the stage and hugged Bolu, followed by dozens of other students. After the conference, an older man approached Bolu. He wore an elegant suit and carried a leather briefcase. Mr. Obi, my name is Engineer Femi Adewale. I am the director of the National Automotive Industry Council. It's an honor, sir. Bolu shook his hand. The honor is mine. Your presentation was extraordinary, and I have a proposal for you and for this institute. Engineer Femi Adewale explained that the council wanted to establish a national network of technical institutes based on the Obi Auto Tech Institute model. They wanted to replicate the success in 10 different cities, and they wanted Bolu to be the technical director of the entire project. You would have to travel, train instructors, design curricula, Engineer Femi Adewale explained. But you would be changing technical education across Nigeria. Bolu looked at his mother, who nodded with a smile. He looked at Chief Alabi, who gave a thumbs up. He looked at the students surrounding him, awaiting his response. I accept, he finally said, but with one condition. The first institute outside Lagos must open in the city where my father was born, and it must offer full scholarships to the poorest students. Done. Engineer Femi Adewale extended his hand. I think your father would be very proud. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Bolu worked designing the curriculum for the new institutes, training instructors, giving conferences, but he always made time for his original students, especially for Chucky. Professor Bolu, Chucky asked him one day while they worked together on an engine. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. Chucky, how do you manage not to be angry with the world? Your father died. You were humiliated. You went hungry. I went through much less. And sometimes I feel so much rage. Bolu stopped working and looked at his student. Rage is normal, Chucky. I felt it too, but I learned something important. Rage is like acid. It harms the container that holds it more than anything it spills upon. So, you just ignore it? I don't ignore it. I transform it, Bolu explained. Every time I feel rage for what happened to me, I turn it into motivation to help someone else. Every time I remember the humiliation, I use that memory to ensure I never make another person feel that way. Chucky nodded slowly, absorbing the words. Besides, Bolu smiled. The best revenge against those who belittle you is success. Not success to boast, but success to prove they were wrong. 3 months after his return from Germany, the institute held its largest graduation ceremony to date. 50 students would receive their diplomas, and all already had job offers waiting for them. Bolu was backstage when Chief Alabi approached with a serious expression. Bolu, I need to tell you something important. What's wrong? Aisha, my sister is having a baby, a boy. Chief Alabi, that's wonderful. Bolu hugged him genuinely. She wants to name him Obi, Chief Alabi said with an emotional voice. In honor of your father, and all of that was possible because you fixed my car. Bolu felt tears in his eyes. His father's legacy continued to grow in ways he never imagined. Is there anything else? Chief Alabi continued. I've been talking to lawyers. I want to formally adopt Grace as my mother and you as my son. If you both agree. Bolu was speechless. Chief Alabi, You don't have to answer now, Chief Alabi quickly said. Just think about it. You are my family anyway, but I'd like it to be official. That night, after the graduation ceremony, Bolu went to the cemetery. Obi's grave was now surrounded by fresh flowers that students and former students brought regularly. Papa, Bolu spoke in the darkness. 4.5 years have passed since you left, and there are still days when it hurts so much I can't breathe. But there are also days filled with so much joy that I feel my heart is going to explode. He sat on the grass next to the grave. The institute has your name. They're going to open 10 more across the country. Hundreds of young people are learning what you taught. And Chief Alabi, the man who humiliated me, wants to adopt me as his son. A shooting star crossed the night sky. I don't know what to do with that last part, Bolu admitted. Mama says you would want me to accept, that you always wanted us to have a big family, but I feel like accepting would mean forgetting you. The wind blew gently, rustling the leaves of the trees, but I think I know what you would tell me. Bolu smiled through his tears. You would tell me that love is not limited, that loving Chief Alabi as a father figure doesn't mean I love you less. You would tell me that forgiveness and redemption are beautiful, and that I'm big enough to hold all that love in my heart. He stood up, wiping away his tears. I'm going to accept his proposal, Papa. I'm going to be Chief Adebayo Alabi's son on paper, but I will always be Obi Adeyemi's son in my heart. 6 months later, in a private ceremony, Chief Alabi officially adopted Bolu and Grace. It didn't replace Obi, but expanded the family in ways that healed old wounds. And exactly 1 year after his return from Germany, Bolu turned 18. Alabi Conglomerate organized a massive celebration at the institute with current students, graduates, professors, and industry leaders. But the best gift came unexpectedly. Engineer Femi Adewale went on stage with an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to inform you that the President of Nigeria has signed an official decree. Starting today, March 15th, will be recognized as the National Technical Education Day in honor of Obi Adeyemi and his transformative legacy. The ovation was deafening. Grace wept with happiness. Chief Alabi hugged Bolu with paternal pride, and somewhere in heaven, Obi Adeyemi smiled. Bolu took the microphone, looking at all the faces that had been part of his incredible journey. 6 years ago, I was a scared child fixing cars on the street to buy medicine for his mother. A rich man humiliated me, made me feel invisible, treated me as if I were worthless. He looked at Chief Alabi. That man is here today, and he is my adoptive father, my mentor, and one of my best friends. He turned to the entire audience. If my story teaches you anything, let it be this. Never allow circumstances to define you. Never let the cruelty of others dim your light. And never, ever underestimate the power of kindness, forgiveness, and education. He held up a photo of Obi that he always carried with him. My biological father gave me the tools. My adoptive father gave me the platform. But you, all of you, gave me purpose. His voice rose with final passion. So, go out there and change the world, not because you are the richest or the most powerful, but because you are the most determined, the kindest, and the most resilient. Show that dreams have no limits when the heart is big enough. The last words resonated in the auditorium like a thunder of hope. And as everyone applauded, Bolu closed his eyes and whispered a final prayer. Thank you, Papa, for everything. This is for you. Because in the end, Bolu Obi had learned the most important lesson of all. True wealth is not measured in money, but in the lives you touch. True success is not in how much you have, but in how much you give. And true legacy is not built in stone monuments, but in transformed hearts. A child once humiliated had changed the destiny of thousands, and that was the greatest victory money could ever buy.